when I was a little boy, I was little Eddie. I'm Eddie the third, by the way. My grandfather's Edward, my dad's Edward, I'm Edward. So I was little Eddie, Eddie the third. Kids at school called me Eddie Spaghetti. That wasn't fun. Say, Eddie Spaghetti, your meatballs are ready. That's what they would say. That's how they tease me. And the jerk that started this lived right next door to me. Little Ray Ray, this little punk. So there's little Eddie and there's Ray Ray. Why is he Ray Ray? Because his dad's Big Ray. We lived in Weymouth, Massachusetts at the time. They're wooing, but they wouldn't want to retire there. Let's put it that way. That is not Laguna Beach, is it, everybody? So my house is the same exact house as Ray Ray's. Except you know how track houses are, they just flip them. So it was his house, my house in reverse. So we shared a driveway. Their porch, their stairs to their house was here. Mine was there. So when they're eating dinner, I could hear all their conversations. They could hear all ours. And Ray Ray's the one who started, Eddie Spaghetti, your meatballs are ready. And I didn't like it. And he used to kind of mess with me. He figured out I was kind of soft. You know, you kind of figure it out. Like we're playing football in the street. He kind of whacked me and I wouldn't whack him back. You know those kind of things little kids do to figure it out? He was the stud. I was the weak kid. And he figured it out. He was big. I was little Eddie. Literally little Eddie. Really small. And so Ray Ray used to kind of slap me around a little bit. And one day, we got in a little scrape behind the cars in the driveway. And Ray Ray kicked my ass. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. To the point where I ran away from him crying. Maybe you can relate to this. And I ran into the house, and my mom was on the porch. Oh my gosh, Eddie, what happened? Mama, Ray Ray, he slapped me, punched me in the face. Oh, come here, sweetheart. Remember? Come here, baby. We're in the kitchen, and she's hugging me. It's okay. He's a bad boy. His daddy's been in jail like 3 times. We're not that kind of family. They're mean, right? He's a bad man. I go, Mommy, he's a bad man. They're bad people. And I can hear, here comes Big Ed down the hallway. I can hear him. I'm thinking he's going to give me a big hug too, right? My dad goes, what the hell's going on in here? My mom turns around and says, this criminal next door, Ray Ray, has assaulted our son for the 400th time. That's what's going on here. Are you going to do anything about this? And my dad goes, get your hands off him. He goes, get over here. And he gets down at my level and he goes, look at me. You are leaving this house and you are going back over there and you are kicking his ass. You understand me? I'm no, Dad, he always kicks my butt. He said, you don't come back in this house until you kick his ass. You understand me? My mom, Ed, what are you doing? Debbie, stop it. I know what I'm doing here. Don't come back here till you beat him up. You understand me? Huh? Oh, okay, Daddy. And I walk out of the door and I walk over to their porch, which is like 3 steps from ours. And my dad's behind the screen. I see him in the kitchen behind our screen with my mom. My mom's crying. My dad's like, I got this, right? And I knock on the door, their screen, and Big Ray all tatted up, no shirt on. He's through the screen. What's up, Eddie? He said, Big Ray, my dad says I have to come over here and kick Ray Ray's ass or I can't come home for dinner. So, and Big Ray goes, I like that kind of party. Let's get it. I'm serious. I hear him at the door. Ray Ray, Ray Ray. That's how he yells. Ray Ray, get over here. Little Ray, little bulldog comes running up. Right? He goes, hey, little Eddie wants another piece. And little Ray Ray goes, let's do this. I'm like, oh crap. And we're walking down his stairs and I could see my dad in the screen over here. I'm like, oh my God. And I'll never forget this. The 2 cars were there. My dad's Datsun B210 orange hatchback and his dad's green Pinto flanked our estates right there in the driveway. Oil all over the driveway because Big Ray would change everything in the driveway. And we got up there and Big Ray goes, you get there, go. And Ray Ray came at me. And by some force of sheer blessing from God, I got this little dude in a headlock and I'm giving him, my dad used to give me noogies. Remember noogies? So I didn't really know how to hit him, but I'm noogieing the hell out of this kid's head. Noogies, just noogies. I'm ripping the hair off his damn head and I'm choking him. Noogies. I'm kind of looking back at the screen and see my dad. I got him, Dad. I got him, Dad. And so finally, I'm noogieing this kid to death. Literally can't breathe. And so finally, Ray's going, get him, Ray, get him, Ray. I'm hearing him yell, get him, Ray. I'm like, noogies. And I won't let him go. He's trying to squirm. And I'm like, boom. I'm kind of slapping him in the head. These little boys out there, right? And so finally, I kicked his ass, right? No. So Big Ray stops it. Big Ray pulls us off each other and he goes, Ray Ray, he got you. Let's shake his hand. And we shook hands. And I walked home. My dad's like, now get in here. Let's make some spaghetti. Let's do this, right? So proud of me.
See, thing about push-up is once you get started, it's difficult. But let's say by the grace of God, somehow you get 20 cranked out. And then you just keep on, and then you throw some prayer in the game, and the next thing you know, you got 40 knocked out. But you steady pressing. What you don't see is you developing a strength with that pressing. And then somehow you get to 70, and you look up, and everything on you shaking. Your teeth is cracking. Your eyes is busting out your head. You can't believe what's happening to you. You get to 80, your clothes don't look the same no more. You somehow get to 90, and it's all coming loose now. And then, through prayer in some kind of way, you ain't got to know how. You just got to start. See, too many people try to figure out the how. Now you're trembling. You're shaking. Everything in you is about to blow up. But you done 100 push-ups. Now, somebody come to you and say, man, you say, wow, I did the 100, I'm successful now. And then you say, well, good, now I'm successful. What I got to do to stay successful? Hold that position. After you done 100, lock and hold. That's how hard it is to be successful. But in that mere description right there, most people go, I ain't finna try that. What got me to this position is I went ahead on and tried. I didn't even have the ability, and I still have struggled. But guess what? I'm holding, but I ain't holding by myself. See, you keep going to church and you keep memorizing these scriptures, but you got to put them to application. If he all that in a bag of chips, if he can do anything but fail, why you keep bringing up the failure? It doesn't make any sense. You can have a life. Ain't this a Bible verse say something about if you have a life, come to Christ, you have life and have it more abundantly. Something like that, right? I don't try to do that, because what I don't do is I don't put myself in Bible verses that ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all always want to plug yourself into all the scriptures. Some of them scriptures is for people that don't do certain things, then this is the result. You ain't got to plug yourself in there. Like it's a scripture that says something about the poor. The poor will always be with you. It don't say the poor will always be with you, Steve. Why am I putting myself in that Bible verse? He just talking about if you don't believe in your heart and don't doubt. He talking about if you have faith without works is dead. He talking about if you do that. Don't put yourself in there. But if you want to justify why you poor, then you whoops that one out. I don't want to be in that one, so I don't pull it out.
And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality. And so as you begin to look at where you want to go, beginning to embrace that, it's possible. I'm blessed and highly favored. I've got a lot going for me. I got some good stuff in me. And it's possible that I can bring my greatness out here in the universe, that I can do what I want to do. It's possible I can write my own book. I can have my own business. I can take the trip and travel around the world. It's possible. I can bounce back from adversity and reinvent my life. It's possible. Regardless of where I am, the things can get better for me. It's possible. I'm thinking about two men right here in Chicago who were fairly successful, similar background, educated. They worked for a corporation for many years, and they were among many people that were laid off. Two guys who were very good friends. One went out looking for a job for several weeks along with the other one, and they faced disappointment and rejection again and again and again. They couldn't find any work, which is the story of many people across this country. One guy stopped. He became discouraged. He stopped going. He stayed home looking at television, became very argumentative and toxic with his wife, drinking beer, getting on the phone, talking to his other negative, unemployed friends, and he just gave up. The other guy kept looking for a job everywhere he could go. Every time he could get an opportunity, kept asking people, networking, checking the newspapers every day, kept going everywhere he could, trying to find a job. You have too much education. You're overqualified. You won't be here long enough. He kept going. He kept going. He went to a place and said, look here, I tell you what, if you can't hire me, and I know you can use my talents, abilities, and skills, I don't want to sit home and do nothing. Just let me do some volunteer work. You don't have to give me anything, all right? I just want to work. I want to be busy. Guy said, okay, it's on you now, but don't expect me to give you anything. It's okay. This guy came in and worked. He was the first one there. The last one to leave was the best employee there. About 4 weeks later, one of the top managers quit. They were looking for a replacement. Guess who they selected? This other guy. This guy who was volunteering his time. He got the job. What was the difference between the two men? Eyesight and mindsight. Eyesight is judging on what you see, judging according to appearances. But mindsight is how you interpret what you see. One guy said, it's not possible. It's over. I'm finished. I can't do it. I can't make it. He surrendered. I've faced rejection again and again. I'm not going anymore. There are no jobs out there. But this other guy, he felt that in spite of the no's and rejections, in spite of how bad the economy is, in spite of what the newspapers are saying, that it's possible that somebody somewhere will give me a job. He just kept going, thinking it was possible. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's what we have to do with our dreams. Because things happen to you in life that you can never, ever anticipate. And many times when those things happen, you want to give up. I remember when I was in broadcasting, when I was a disc jockey, I became very controversial, not only in being a disc jockey, but I felt that radio was something that you not only entertain people with, but you also empower them, you educate them.
Now, there's all kinds of winters. Not just the winter of the season, but there's all kinds of winter. Winter time, the down time, the discouraging time. One writer called it the winter of discontent. The winter when you can't figure it out, the winter when it all goes wrong. Economic winter, social winters, political winters, and personal winter. When your heart is smashed in 1,000 pieces, the nights are unusually long. It's called winter time. Barbra Streisand sings, it used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used to be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the floor till we sweep them away. You don't sing me love song. You don't say you need me. And you don't bring me flowers anymore. A song of winter. But hey, we're acquainted with all those winter scenarios. We've been through them all. Now the question is, what do you do about the winter? Well, you can't get rid of January by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do with the upcoming winters of your life. The long ones, the short ones, the easy ones, the more difficult ones. Here's what you can do. Get wiser and stronger and better. Just make a list of that trio of good words. Wiser, stronger, and better. To challenge for yourself the upcoming winters of your life, don't you think you could read more? Pick up the scenario, pick up the books, pick up the cassettes. So I would put some stuff on cassettes so you can listen to it, put it in books so you can read it. Now putting it on video so you can see it. I'm telling you, anybody that wants to can get wiser. Next is stronger. Anybody can get stronger. If you're willing to do the push-ups, you can get stronger. If you're willing to put yourself through the paces, you can get stronger. Can you develop stronger skills? And the answer is yes. Start practicing, practicing, practicing. And you can get stronger. Can you get stronger in handling life situations? Of course. But you got to go to work on yourself. You can't blame out there wishing it was easier. Wish you were stronger. And here's the last one. Get better. Anybody can get better. Language, we can all get better. I've been lecturing now for 33 years, and I'm telling you, today versus 33 years ago, I'm better. First time I gave a talk, I stood up, my mind sat back down. I mean, I've been through that whole deal. Opened my mouth, nothing came out for a while. My knees are banging together, the sweat's pouring off my face, I'm shaking like a leaf. It's called terror, in case you haven't tried it. Those first attempts, but I'm telling you, I got through it, and I did it again, and I got through it, and I did it again, and I got through it. And now, of course, I can lecture for a few hours in one day. Anybody can get better. Develop the skill, okay? Handle the upcoming winter. Don't wish away the winters. That's called naive. Wish for the skills. Wish for the strength. Wish for the wisdom. Here's the second major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. Uniquely enough, spring follows winter. And pray tell how often? 6,500 times. I mean, those are good odds. I'd gamble on it one more time. I mean, those are good odds. Every time. You can't beat those odds. Spring is called opportunity. Another day is called opportunity. Days follow night. About that. And how often? Every day. But now here's what we must learn to do with opportunity. Underline 2 strategic words in that sentence. Take advantage. Just because spring comes is no sign you're going to look good in the fall. You've got to take advantage of it. You've got to do something with it. Read every book you can on what to do with your spring, what to do with your opportunities, what to do with your days, what to do with your chances. Don't miss the educational process. Don't miss the process of learning. To understand, opportunity keeps coming, but the key is taking advantage, taking advantage. Everybody in this room's got to learn to do one of two things. Plant in the spring or beg in the fall. And it doesn't mean you can't become a sophisticated beggar, but you don't need the reputation. Learn to plant in the spring. Take advantage. And there's an urgency here on springtime because there's just a few springs, handful of springs offered to each of us. So take advantage swiftly and quickly. Don't just let the time pass. The Beatles wrote, "Life is very short." And for John Lennon, it was extra short. For Michael Landon, it was X short. But life is short. At the longest, it's short. So don't just let the springs pass. Take advantage. Seize the day. Seize the moment. Seize the opportunity. It's the key. Springtime. Life is fragile. Life is brief. Elton John sings she lived her life like a candle in the wind. It's fragile. It's brief. Whatever you're going to do, you got to get at it. Don't just let it pass away. Here's major lesson number 3. In the summer, learn how to nourish and protect. We've got 2 challenges in the summer in the personal development part of our life. And that is become capable, powerful enough in the summer, and wise enough in the summer to nourish what's good and defend yourself against what's bad. Nourish and defend. Summertime is an interesting time. It holds the possibility of the promise of harvest time, but it also has the possibility of the threat. Sure enough, as soon as you've planted your garden, the busy bugs and the noxious weeds are out to take it. And let me give you another word of advice. They will take it unless you prevent it. Summertime is an interesting time. Best as I can describe summertime, you got to nourish your values like a mother. Nourish like a mother. Go after the threat to the values you've got like a father. Deal with the weeds. Kill the weeds. Nourish the garden and kill the weed. That's called summertime. What a challenging time. Give life like a mother. Take life like a father. Summertime. You got to deal with the negative as well as the positive. Summertime is a unique, complex mix of positive and negative. Opportunity and threat. What a scenario of life itself. Opportunity and threat to the opportunity. And you got to deal with both. You got to think positive and you got to think negative. You got to handle what's ever out to threaten you. You got to learn to threaten it back. Summertime. Interesting time. Nourish like a mother. Defend like a father. You got to be like your bloodstream in the summer. Red corpuscles to what? Nourish. White corpuscles to what? Fight. You got to both nourish and fight. You got to nourish and be vigilant. White corpuscles think negative. You can't just think positive. We call you naive. Somebody says, well, I've been taught to be all positive. You'll be some kind of freak. You can't be all positive. Thank God for white corpuscles that think negative all day. Guess what white corpuscles are looking for all day? Problems, infection. White corpuscles say, just show me some infection, I'll kill it. Why? It's out to kill the body. It's out to kill our chances. It's out to kill our future. Whatever threatens us, we threaten. I'm asking you to take sword to your enemy. Whatever's out to threaten you, threaten your health, you got to threaten it back. Like white corpuscles. Kill what's evil. Nourish what's good. Love like a mother. Hate like a father. In 6 years, you'll be explaining instead of celebrating. Having some ragged list like I had, reasons for not doing well, pennies in my pocket. Could, should, don't, disaster. And if you'll just start the process of change, could, should, and will, you can start this whole process. And if you will, then put it into action. The miracle belongs to you. Jesus said to his disciple, it'll be simple. Go fishing, and the first fish you catch, look in his mouth. Peter said, okay. He was used to strange things happening in this relationship. Peter goes fishing, catches the first fish, looks in his mouth. Guess what's in the fish's mouth? Coin. Peter says, wow, coins. Starts counting the value of these coins, and when he adds it up, guess how much it added up to? Exactly enough money to pay his taxes and Jesus' taxes, which gives you Jesus' position on taxes. Now we call that what? A miracle. Only because we don't quite understand how it works. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It simply means we don't quite understand how it works. But here's how you get a miracle going for your life. Number one, do what you can. Get a list of the stuff you could do and you haven't done, postpone, and start cleaning that up. You can't start at a better place for personal change. That'll affect your bank account, affect your future, affect your income, affect everything. You can't start a better life change process than cleaning up what you should be doing. The man says, well, my mother lives down in Florida. Should have written her 6 months ago. I just can't seem to get that letter written. I'm asking you to get that letter written, clean that up, and don't walk like other people walk. Don't postpone like other people postpone. You say, well, is it as simple as writing a letter? And the answer is yes. Where else would you start for life change, personal change? You don't need a pink package to fall out of the sky. You don't need massive bombard, pre-conscious, subconscious, practice channeling, find a 2,000-year gold guru. I mean, you don't need any of that stuff. Pass on all that. Kids are afraid of that stuff. Too much of it. You'll be out on a limb with Shirley. I mean, don't pass on all that stuff. This stuff's too easy. This stuff's too simple. It's called take action, number one, on neglect, on errors, in discipline. Number two, start setting up some discipline. And if you'll do that, you'll perform a miracle. Now, here's the second part of the miracle. Number one is do what you can. Here's number two, do the best you can. If that's not your philosophy, I would ask you to amend it. Let me give you the best of ancient script. Here's what it says. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, do it with all your strength, and do it with all your power. What a good philosophy. That kind of philosophy will revolutionize your life if you haven't picked it up lately. Guy slips in late, company doesn't seem to mind, slips out early, first one in the parking lot, heading for happy hour. Stretches his break, comes early for lunch, late back from lunch, company doesn't seem to notice. Guy says, best as I can calculate, I'm putting in about a half a day's work and I'm collecting a full day's pay. And the guy says, I got it made. Little does he know the seeds of his own disaster are already being sown by the weakness of his own personal philosophy. It's not the economy that's going to determine your next 6 years. It's your philosophy about labor and about activity and about miracle and soil and seed and sunshine and rain and the economy and the banks and the money and the companies and the schools and what's going on. It's your philosophy and your attitude and then your ability to take action. All of that we call the process of life change, miracle working. Number one, do what you can. Number two, do the best you can. Here was number four, results. Results. Every once in a while, you got to take a measure, see how you're doing with these three pieces, philosophy, attitude, activity. Now we take a measure called results. What is the results at the end of the day, the results at the end of the week? You can't let too much time go by without checking. When time goes by, 6 years I'd been out there working when I met my teacher, Mr. Shope. Shope said, well, Mr. Rohn, let's just go through a little summary here. He said, in the last 6 years, how much money have you saved and invested? Let's go through a little tab list here. How much money have you saved and invested the last 6 years? I said, what? 0. He said, you have messed up. You remember these notes. I like that. You've messed up. He said, who sold you on that plan? I thought, my gosh, the man's right. I'm a nice guy. I bought the wrong plan. What if you were 50 and broke? Right? Didn't need to change countries. Bought the wrong plan. What a sad scenario that would be. Shope said, these questions, let's go through some results. He said, how many books have you read in the last 90 days? I said, what? 0. Wisdom of the world available? Change your life, change your future? Wisdom of the world available? Develop any skill you want? Earn the kind of income you want? Have all the treasures you want? Equities you want? Relationship with your family that you want? Everything that you want available? And the wisdom of the world to help you get it? Haven't read any books in the last 90 days. My teacher said, Mr. Rohn, you have messed up. I'm telling you, you've got the deal.
I told T-Hob when we were standing by the stage, I said, hey man, I want to work more with you. I want you to coach me. I want to learn from you. See, I found you're never too old to learn and you're never too young to teach. Always have a thirst for learning. So I listened to Paul Harvey every day on the radio. While in school, I would go out and listen in his car. He gave me his keys. I was working to develop myself. And I continued to listen to motivational messages, and he would take me to see the late Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. I toured with him before he passed. You have something special. You have greatness within you. Don't allow your circumstances to determine who you are. Don't allow your negative thoughts to hold you back. You have something special. You can do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Dr. Peale was an incredible man. I admired him. When he spoke, he gave me goosebumps. I can feel him in my heart. And I never forget, we were coming back to the school, and Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, yes, sir. When Dr. Peale spoke, you didn't move. When he spoke, you were hanging on every word. When he spoke, we didn't have to tell you to sit down and be quiet. Why? I said, sir, I could feel him when he talked. I felt like he was talking to me, sir. He said, he was. I said, but he doesn't know me, but he was speaking to you. Did you feel him in your heart? I said, yes, sir. He said, most people feel him in their head. If you felt him in your heart, he said, listen to him, son. Follow him, learn from him. And I would go to seminars and workshops. Anywhere I would find where Dr. Peale was, I would be in the audience. I would drive 200 and 300 miles just to hear him speak. And my dream and vision was to share the stage with him. I thought about it. What is your goal? What is your vision? I want you to hold it in mind. There's some power in that, because when I became involved in speaking, I never forget, I got a call from Og Mandino, who wrote the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. He said, Les, I'm stuck in Philadelphia. I need to be in Kankakee. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale is appearing. I can't make it. I heard you're in Chicago. I said, yes, I am. Can you go and open for me? I said, yes, man. Oh, my God. Dr. Peale, I said, yes, I'd love to do it. And I went there and I came. I said, hi, I'm Les Brown. He said, you're not the band of renown? I said, no, I'm Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I'm here to speak. He said, come backstage. And his wife, Martha, was there. And she said, Papa, Les Brown is here, the speaker. And he said, Les Brown, shoot for the moon. Because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. I said, sir, that's my quote. I wrote you. When I was in the 11th grade, I was a part of a special education class project. That's my quote. He said, I know. I end all my speeches with that quote. And Dr. Peale had a great sense of humor. A young man was backstage, and I had so many questions to ask him, and my mind froze up, and the young guy said, Dr. Peale, how old are you? And he was up in age. He said, Sonny, I'm 92. The young man looked at him and said, I don't know if I want to live to get 92. He said, that's because you've never been 91.
So my dad's drinking was the ultimate blessing in my life, even though it was terrible as a child. So my dad got sober and became my best friend. It was really cool. I watched my dad have two lives. I watched the first 40 years of his life. My dad was a good man, just like a lot of you are, but living a bad way. Drinking, running around, probably doing all the stuff that comes with doing that. And then he got sober. And I watched him change his life. My dad's a humble man, and I didn't know this. My dad's sobriety was interesting. Just gonna tell you this really quickly. My dad got sober, ironically, because he used to go to Hollywood to drink. So my dad went to an AA meeting where it was all famous people. But we lived 2 hours from there, which was the hood. So my dad would go to AA meetings in Hollywood with fame. Matter of fact, my dad's sponsor in AA is a very famous actor. And then my dad would come to the hood where we grew up and go to his AA meetings. And so my dad ended up, I didn't know this, but my dad for years helped people get sober quietly. 2 o'clock in the morning, a text, a lunch, a breakfast, anything he could ever do to just help another human being change their life. I never knew it because he would never tell me, didn't brag about it. When my dad died, he requested no funeral. Didn't want anybody talking about him. Plus it was COVID, but for years he didn't want one. But I got a call from the AA meeting my dad went to, and the guy said, we'd just like to honor your dad at a park. There'll be like 8 or 10 of us there. Would you come? I said, no, I'm not doing that. My dad said no. My wife said, you should just go. It's gonna be 10 people. I show up to this park, hundreds of people showed up. And they got up and said, we're here today to honor Ed Mylett. It's my own name. First dude walks up, he says, my name's Jerry. 34 years ago, Ed Mylett changed my life. I walked into a meeting, I had no hope, I thought I was gonna die. This man grabs me and says, hey, let's have breakfast tomorrow morning. And he tells his story. Next guy gets up, big old Samoan dude, said I was incarcerated for 15 years. My best friend's Ed Mylett. He changed my life. Took every call, calls me every day. loves me, cares about me. Next guy gets up, very, very famous actor. Ed Mylett changed my life. I came to a meeting 17 years ago. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get from him, how many meetings we've had, how many times he's driven to see me when I was going to use again. Driven hours and hours. One time he drove to Sacramento, drove 7 straight hours to see me because I thought I was going to use. He said, I'll be there in a minute. 7 hours later, my dad showed up. And I watched this whole meeting of these people just parading through about how my dad changed their life. And my dad had lung cancer and a really bad form of tumors wrapped all around his organs. And so my dad fought this for like 9 years. And the last time he went into the hospital, my dad finally called me and said, I want you to come get me. Except he didn't talk like that. My dad was down to about 10 breaths a minute. So my dad's voice was my voice. In fact, if you called his phone number right now, that voicemail's still on there, my dad's voice. But my dad would talk like this in the hospital. Dad, they'll give you another steroid shot. You need to fight this again. This is my dad's life for months. And I'm going to tell you what he said in my voice because it'll take too long. He said, I'm going to die in 2 days. I fought this for 9 years. I did this for your mom, you and your sisters and the grandchildren. I'm going to be gone in 2 days. I would like to die in my home with you and the sisters there. Come get me. I said, Dad. He says, I'm serious. I called his doctor. He goes, I'd get him home. I get my dad home. He's in his living room. I was with my dad when he passed away, so were my sisters. An hour before my dad died, an hour before. So when you're dying this way, just so you know, they count your breath. So my dad had gone from 50 breaths a minute to 20 to 10, some minutes 5, some minutes 3. Got to the point a couple hours before my dad died that he had a minute with no breaths. And so they took his pulse. He had no pulse. Then he would breathe again for a minute. So it took a long time. And my dad was really running out of breath. He was basically suffocating to death. And I tell you this because we thought he was gone, and he came back, and then he had a couple half-hour windows of like 40 breaths a minute. His phone keeps ringing. He's got oxygen. He goes, Debbie, who's calling? And she says, it's 9:09. Answer it. My dad's got 2 hours left. Answer it. She says, no, I'm not answering it. He says, grab it. He knew who it was, and he knew that was someone who needed him. And my mother handed him the phone on morphine, drooling, oxygen, pulls it out. You can. And I watched him for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. My dad talked this dude off the ledge and changed his life. Bernardo was the last speaker at that service I went to a week later. So in my dad's last minutes of his life, my dad was still changing people's lives, was still making a difference in the world. The reason I tell you that story is not to applaud for my dad. I tell you that story because who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when there's no incentive for you? My dad's not getting any credit for that. He had no idea I was going to tell this story. In fact, he'd be embarrassed if I did. Who are you when nobody's watching? What's the real difference you make in the world?
See, the reason I know I talk like this, I've been at every economic level there is. Because my father was rough, man. Let me tell you a story. I was in college. My father didn't help me. I got in real bad trouble one time. I called home and said, Dad, I need some money. All right. So 4 days later, in the mail, an envelope came. It had 2 index cards so you couldn't see the money. When I opened it up, it had a note on the index card, and it was a $5 bill. I pulled it out, saw the $5. The note said, this shit gonna have to stop. 4 times. That's what the note said, though. You would lose effect if I did not read you what my daddy wrote. And my daddy dead, so I think that's a free will. Just let me have it. That's how my father was. I'ma support you just enough, keep him dying. This is enough to buy a sandwich and some water so you can live on to the next crisis. So I've been at every eco level. I know what it's like to thousand. So when I tell you what the 100 feel like, see, and enjoy the ride along the way. Quit waiting until you're a millionaire to celebrate. There's joy in the journey. Listen to me. If you was making $50,000 and you now make $100,000, that should be a mini celebration in your life. When you go from $100,000 to $250,000, that should be another mini celebration in your life. You got to buy some stuff to reward you along the way. There's joy in the journey. You don't have to wait till you're a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire. I really do. Because there's 3 black billionaires: Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, and Robert Smith. I didn't research it. I researched because that's where I want to go. Well, Steve, why you want to have a billion? Because they printing the money. There's joy in where I'm at right now. Oh, please understand I'm cool. But if I could get $1 billion though. See, Brother Blue has went with me, has traveled up to Washington, D.C. to Dr. Ben Carson at HUD. Well, let's talk about that for a second. I done had some things happen to me, man. President Obama's transition team. I was getting off a plane one day. Assistant called and said, Steve, President Obama's transition team. President Obama and I were friends. I've interviewed, he's been on my talk show. I've been to the White House and interviewed him. He's been on my radio show more than anybody's show. I go to their parties. We friends. So his transition team called me around the 9th of January and said, Steve, the president feels like it's important that we sit down and have a conversation with this new administration to see if there's something to work out. Not President Obama, just his transition team from White House. I said, okay, cool. Next thing I know, the Trump administration transition team gets in touch with the Obama transition team. My name come up. So on January 13th, they asked me to come to Trump Tower to meet with Donald Trump. Now, the hell I call it, the sheer misery for making that decision. I've been so many coons, Uncle Tom, sellouts. I was stunned. I mean, the brutality of what happened to me on social media behind visiting that man in Trump Towers, it was alarming. But I'm sitting up in here and I'm trying to figure out, because you don't know, so since you don't know, here come the hate. Uncle Tom, sellout, coon, Steve Harvey, shoe shiner, celebrity friends I thought I was really cool with, coming out talking about he ought to know better. What the hell wrong with him? Whoa. If President Obama, the current president, and the incoming president say they won't talk to you, which one of you ain't going up there? Just raise your hand if you wouldn't go, so I can see how stupid you are. Just go ahead. I just want to see. This is what I be really wanting to say. See, I can't say none of this in front of another group, but since it's us in here, I've been wanting to say this since January 13th. You better believe this right here. I've been waiting on the right crowd. Well, I'm in front of a bunch of friends right now. So see, I can say this because I'm around a bunch of friends. You understand? Friendship is essential to the soul. You can live without your father. You can live without a relative. You can make it without your mama. You can't live in this world without a friend. Friendship is essential to the soul. Oh, filima filii super. That friendship is essential to the soul. Yeah, I've been waiting on this. I'm glad Ricky Lewis asked to come.